In this FreeCAD tutorial, I will show you how to convert a DWG file of a servo housing for an RC plane into a 3D model using both the draft and the part design workbench in FreeCAD. The DWG file can be downloaded from the link in the description of this video. You will notice that I haven't used attachment, only placement. I haven't even attached to the base planes of the body. It's advisable to use attachment, then you can reference the body's origin planes rather than faces of other geometry when using such operations as the patterning. But this is a quick way to get from a flat 2D imported file to a 3D print. Our design intent is to create a servo cover with the following dimensions using the supplied DWG file. We could create the shape from scratch using a sketch, but the curvature of the top closely matches the wing's profile that the servo is going to be attached to. Because of this, and as an exercise, I'm going to be using the existing geometry from the DWG file. First, we need to set up FreeCAD to allow DWG file imports. You can follow the instructions from the previous video or by following the link below. Once that's done, we go into FreeCAD and we open a new document. To start with, it doesn't matter which workbench we're in. We're going to import the DWG file by using File and Import. But it's best first to check our preferences, edit preferences, and look at the import export and look at the DWG. We've got our path and the DXF, and we're looking at the scaling factor. Mine's set to 1 at the moment. We don't know what scale this file's in. Let's come up to File, Import, and pick the DWG file and hit Open. Let's set the defaults and look from the top view. I want to take a measurement off of this top line. Check the scale. Let's select the top line and use the measuring tool. Our measurements come in and we'll just save that and close. So in our measurements, we've got the length here. We'll use this value to calculate our scaling. Calculate the scale factor, take the desired size and then divide it by the current size. In our case, we'll take the desired 100mm and divide it by the current 250.0.9mm, which will give us the following approximate scale factor. Let's close the document as we don't need it anymore. Discard and come up to Edit, Preferences. Look down and find Import Export and DXF. Look at the global scaling factor. We'll change that to the scaling we need. And then hit OK. Now create a new document. Go up to File, Import, and pick DWG file. And hit OK. Look from the top again, zoom in, and take the top line and measure it. And we can see that it's 100mm. You may get approximation, but this will be fractions of millimeters out and is sufficient for your needs. Let's close out the measuring tool and come over to the draft workbench where we'll prepare our geometry ready for the part design. Now we can examine the model to see what we have. From the top projection, we can see it's a hollow shape with an open back. The side projection shows the curved top that we have to maintain. This is going to be part of the wall, and we see that has a closed front. Tabs are extruded downwards from the top. So from these projections, we can make a number of profiles. Let's come over to the left and see what we have. In the layers, we have a number of groups. And in here, we can see a number of shapes are part of the back view. In the others, we can see a polyline. And in text, we have a number of shapes, is the top projection. We've even got a polyline in the side projection, so these are a bit jumbled. And what we'll do is simplify these using the draft workbench and its upgrade tools. So I'm looking to upgrade these to groups of wires. We're working along the XY plane. Make sure our plane is set, the working plane. If it's not, make sure nothing's selected. Come up to Utilities and Working Plane and just set it to the top XY view. Let's zoom in and first select the top line of the side profile, select once and then select again. And you can see how much is selected. So this is selected the whole line. I'm going to select all of this, come up to the edit, box selection, and draw a box like a rubber band around the geometry. Let's upgrade this, come up to modifications and upgrade. And if we look to the left, we have a number of wires. So these are all the wires of that projection. Let's create a group, and we're looking for this icon, the group, new group, click that and we get a group. And now I can select the first wire, shift select the last one to select them all, and drag the wires into the group. This is our first group, and I'm going to call that side group. Let's create another group. This is going to be our top group. Hit enter. And we repeat the process for the top group. So let's zoom in, edit, box selection or shift B, and then select rubber band select geometry. Up to modifications and upgrade, we get our wires, they're already selected. So we can hold down the mouse over wire 004 and drop it into the top group. I'm not worried about the back view, this one here. Let's hide the layers. Now we've got the groups, we can move this into position. So our origin, come up to view and toggle axis cross, is here. This is the world origin. I'm going to move the top group over the world origin. To do that, we can select the top group and then come up to modifications and move. Our snapping, this should be on, so not grayed. We can pick the snap option by long clicking left mouse button on the icon and selecting which ones we want. So we've got snap lock, snap endpoints, snap midpoints. I'm going to check that one. Also available up the top, and we've got them all here. This means if I hover over this object, you can see the snapping starts to appear. So we're snapping to the center, the horizontal edge here. As we pick the group, we're going to move the group. So I'm just going to select the top point up here, click once, and then move the mouse and center it roughly centered over the origin. Now, if you want this perfectly centered, we can add some geometry to snap to. Let's use a point. Select that, and we've got global X, Y, Z here. We'll zero all these out. You're in 0 on the keyboard, pressing tab, and then enter point. We've got a point at 0, 0, 0, so the center here. We zoom in and click. Let's come up to view and toggle axis cross. We should see a point here. So there's a point just here. With that, we can snap geometry too. So if I click on the group, top group, and use the move tool and pick, say, a snap to the center here, I can snap to that point. You can see, snapping to that point, and we can center it. So we've got the top group. Let's do the same with the side group. Pick the side group. Let's zoom out slightly. Modifications and move, or use the move tool from the toolbar. And the way I want to attach this is to attach it at this point here. And it's going to pivot from this point downwards. So that's select top right point. Click once, it's mobile. Let's zoom in and hover over this vertex here, this point. Get snap to endpoint, click again, and that's in position. So we've positioned along the XY. Our next positioning is along the YZ plane. So we need to rotate our side group. So select the side group. This time we'll come up to modifications, rotate, and it's the same process. We need to select a point, and this is the point that's going to be rotated from. It's going to be this point here. Hover over that, we can see the snap endpoint. Click once, we get a line. This is where we're going to drag geometry from, and we'll drag it from this point. Now, one thing that we haven't done is set the plane. So you can see I'm moving along the wrong plane. I'm going to hit escape to cancel. Make sure nothing's selected. Up to utilities, and working plane. And we're set to the YZ plane, side plane. So now we can look from the top and we see the plane has moved. Place a little bit of angle, select the side group, use the rotate tool, select the first point, going to be this point here. Select the next point that's going to be dragged from, and then we can rotate our 3D view. Let's rotate it around this way. Sometimes you can get yourself quite disorientated. Let's come around here, always look at your Y and Z, make sure we're rotated correctly, and we look at the rotation, rotating downwards, and we need to type in on the keyboard 90 degrees. And you see on the left it's entered into the field, and hit enter. So now we've positioned both the top and side projections, ready to utilize them in the part design. Before we go ahead and use these in the part design, we first need to make a number of sketches. I'm going to hide the top group and also the point. If we look at the front from the side group and also change our working plane, ensure nothing's selected, go to Utilities, Working Plane, and set it to the XZ plane, we can now work on the side geometry. So if we first need to create an extrusion of this geometry here, and we'll come up, modifications, and draft sketch. We created a sketch and we'll rename that to side profile sketch. We'll just hide the sketch. Now we need the inner profile. For that, take this geometry and also this geometry within here as well. So I'm going to use the box selection, edit, and box selection, and we'll select all that geometry that we need. So we're missing the tabs here, and we'll come out to modifications and draft to sketch. This one's going to be the inner profile. Let's hide the side geometry and double click on the inner profile sketch. This geometry we don't need in here, which includes this curve at the top and also this line. If we look, we have a red point here, and this point isn't red, so it's not connected to anything. We can see this line goes down here, so we need to trim this line away. At the moment, this line, pull it out, is not connected, and we haven't got a closing edge here. Hit Ctrl Z on the keyboard. So I'm going to use the trim tool, or right click, trim edge. We'll trim off this edge. So we've got connection now, and let's move over to the left hand side, and we'll do the same here, trim this edge here as well. So you can see these are red. If these aren't red, right click to cancel. Make sure we have the auto remove redundant constraints on, and we highlight the points that are on top of each other, and then add a coincident constraint or hit C on the keyboard. So now I can start to remove this geometry here as we don't need it. I've rubber band selected those. If I do it in reverse, it actually selects anything I've touched. Let's hit delete on the keyboard and close. So now we've got the inner profile. Check our side profile. Everything's connected. Come over to the tree view and hide the inner profile out of the way and close. We've got the two profiles, and now we want the tabs. Let's hide the side sketch and the inner profile and look at the top group. Pan the view around and also make sure nothing's selected. Come up to Utilities and set the working plane. Top view. I always like to match the working plane to the one that I'm working on. Therefore, if we had to make any amendments, we're already on the correct plane. I want to isolate two of these tabs. I'm not going to isolate four of them because the subject is symmetric. So we'll add all the way up to the center line, create the tabs, then mirror the features over the center. Let's zoom in. I want to edit, box selection. We'll box select the tabs. Modifications, Draft a Sketch, right click and rename, and call this Top Tabs Sketch. Let's hide the top group, and we can see we need to close this geometry. We've got open wire at the moment. Let's double click on the Top Tab Sketch and use a simple line, connect up one side, and then hover over the other side with coincident, and do the same for the upper tab. It's all closed. Let's hit close, and now we're ready to move over to the part design workbench. Let's open up the part design. Look at the tree view. We'll hide top tabs and make sure nothing's selected, and create a body. Let's deal with the side profile first. This is on the XZ plane. Take the side profile, click and drag it into the body. This isn't attached to anything at the moment. If we look at the origin and click on the eye to show it, we can see the origin is here. We can attach it if we want. I'm going to leave it unattached. Let's hide the origin. This makes it a lot easier as we don't have to alter placement. Click the side profile. So the side profile will pad. Let's just show the top group. And this will give us some idea of how far we're going to pad the side profile. Select the side profile, use the pad. It's padding in the wrong direction. Let's hit reverse and set the length to 1 mm and click off. Got the right length, and that's hit OK. Look, the profile has been padded, and we can move on to the next feature. Next feature is the inner profile. Let's show that. We can see it sitting there. It's on this side, but that's fine. Just pad it this way. Take the inner profile, click and drag it inside the body. Select the inner profile and use the pad in the reverse direction. We don't want to pad it all the way up to this edge, but we want to take half of it because we're going to use symmetry to our advantage. Let's have a look at the top. So we're looking at 32. We'll just divide that by 2 and click off. Padded halfway, 16 mm, and hit OK. Next are our tabs, but we can see a small issue. If we create the tabs, they're not going to be aligned with this surface here because of the curve, though the other one will be. We can use the sketch of the side profile the tabs into the shape we need. Let's take the top tabs and drop them inside the body. We're going to pad the tabs in 2 directions. Take the top tab, create the pad. Moment is going upwards, type of dimension, and the mode, go for 2-sided. So our first length, let's set this to 1. That's the top. You can see I'm going to get a overhang here, this edge. So we've set the length on the other side to 1 as well. And hit OK. Now we've got those in place, what we can do is look back at our first pad and look at the side profile sketch and show that. Come out to Edit and Duplicate Object. Our sketch is duplicated. We double click on it. We have the profile. You can see it in there. Let's come over to the model and just hide the pad. You can see the profile there. And also hide the top group. Let's create a rectangle around all of this geometry. So we've created basically a cookie cutter. When we create a pocket, it will remove material in this area. So if we go back to our pad and show it and look from the front, it will profile this tab to the right curvature and also remove the unneeded material for this tab. Go to task and hit close, and then take the sketch and create a pocket. Make sure it's going in the right direction. So at the moment, if we look from the top, it needs to go in the reverse direction. Make sure we have enough clearance and hit OK. That's cleaned up that edge now, and we've got the curvature we need on this tab. We now need to mirror this. To do that, we'll use the mirror tool. We take the body and use the mirror tool. We can see we've got some odd results. Transformation doesn't really look right. So we need to transform the tool shapes. The plane I'm going to use, I'm going to drop this down and hit select reference. And we'll select this face here as reference. Next, let's click the add feature. And this is where having the split model and task view is in your favor. And then pick the pad. The pad has been added. We have to return to the task, add another feature, and then work our way down the next pad. Add another one, add two, add our last feature, which is the pocket. Now let's come over to tasks and uncheck the preview overlay and show final result. And then hit OK. We now have our final result created from the DWG file, and we're ready to 3D print. Export, just click on the body, go to File, and then Export. So that's it. That's from an imported file to a final part design model using the draft workbench, converted the imported geometry to wires, and then finally to sketches. Hope you enjoyed that video, hope you find it useful. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. If you like what you see and you want to donate to the channel, then you can do so via Ko-Fi or Ko-Fi at ko-fi.com/MANG0 or via PayPal at paypal.com/paypalme/Darren B. Stone. I also run a Patreon where you can get early access and additional content, and that's at patreon.com/Mango Jelly Solutions. Links can be found in the channel header, on the About page, or in the descriptions of these videos. I thank everybody that's donated so far. It really helps to keep the lights on so I can produce more content and also expand the channel. Thank you for liking, commenting and subscribing to these videos, and I hope to see you again in the next one.